Hiya, Francesca here from Palooka Salon. I'm going to do a quick wig review of the Layla wig from René of Paris High Fashion Collection in the colour Milk TR. There you go. Now Layla is a really kind of gorgeous, wavy, I would say long style with a left part, and I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a moment. Now, she's a synthetic wig, really soft fibres from the High Fashion Collection actually. I find that the fibres do tend to vary from company to company and even within companies. So the René of Paris covering Amore, High Fashion, Centu, all of these different brands, that even those fibres tend to vary. So it is a really soft fibre. Now this Milk TR, how do I describe it? Well, she's rooted, very plummy roots there, if you can see that. And I would say, now the René of Paris colours, the high fashion colours, they don't tend to give you a kind of coded colour in terms of understanding those levels of colour. So, but if you do, I would say that that is an 8 depth perhaps, if we're thinking about a brown, but with this warm plumminess. Then that rooting blends beautifully into these kind of grey, with, you can see this kind of violet, that's the word, violet tones going through it, as well as these kind of dark blonde. So together that creates this really wonderful tonality throughout. So she's really, really lovely in terms of her colour, and these waves, I haven't combed them through, but they're fairly loose already. Okay, let's take a look at the cap now. I have tried her on already, and I know that this cap runs a little bit big. I am a petite average, so I'm not petite, but this still runs quite big on me, so just bear that in mind. It does have the adjusters at the back, these really nice clasps that will pull that in quite tight. So, okay, so as you can see, we have this wefted cap with this felt at the nape, and we have here our lace left side part. We have a machine made top on the right side here, which is quite a soft fabric here. We also have the felt ear tabs. Now, something I've noticed about the ear tabs, which I'll show you when I pop it on, is that the structure's fairly weak. There is a little metal stay, but that metal stay is teeny tiny. But, pros and cons, the structure might be weak, but the actual profile is really slight. So if you prefer a slighter profile, it's worth considering. I would need to wear tape with it, but as I've said in previous reviews, I tend to wear tape at the ear tabs anyway for my own kind of security. It feels better when they're taped down and not moving, because I play with my hair a lot. I put it behind my ears and I like to feel like it's not moving, and I also wear glasses, so when I'm putting my glasses on, if there's tape there, it helps for me to feel like that's just not going to pop off. So those ear tabs, as I said, they're a little bit slight, and I think because it runs big on me, it's like putting a hat on that's too big. There's lots of space and room, but as I said, I'll show you that when I pop it on. So I'm going to go and put her on and have a little play around. Now, there's not much you can do with this parting, because as I've said, it is a left hand part, so it really does need to sit on that side. You can see I tend to part from centre back across to my left, so we'll see if I'm able to do that with that piece in there. Let's have another little look. How can you see how big you've got there? it's about an inch going into an inch and a half. Okay, well, here she is. I must say I am pleasantly surprised, because the first time I popped her on, I kind of took her straight off again, and I tend to do that if something doesn't feel quite right, or I'm not in the headspace to explore it, or I'm really hot, there's a lot of hair. But I pulled in the adjusters, and that has absolutely transformed the way the cap is sitting. And also, where I said before that these bits felt like they were, well, they felt like Dumbo ears, you know, they were flying. They actually sit really nice and snug. I would still wear tape, but that really slight profile is so good. I can tuck that, no problem. And even though the cap runs large, it doesn't run large over the ear tabs. So we're not finding cutting over the ears and then sideburn tabs, I call them, when they're too big. But I think she's really beautiful. I mean, I love the colour. I've always liked the colour. I like a dark roux, but this kind of lighter grey, steely, ashy violet tones are really lovely. And look at these curls. This length's lovely. What I am really impressed by is the density. She's not too full at all. You see, look. She is not too full at all, but you might want to take some of the weight out of this, and there's plenty of hair to do that. And this lace front here is really lovely. Again, we've talked about how I always pluck, especially when we've got kind of darker knots there, break that up, add some concealer. But these the lace front is extended, it goes to here rather than just here, which the John René welded lace fronts do. So it goes here, which just always gives you that little bit more to play with. So pulling those down, adding some baby hairs. I love this. Isn't she glamorous? Right, let's stop going on about being glamorous, and let's talk to you about what these lengths are. So let's I'm not sure I've even put her on right, whether she needs to come forward a bit. It's all about how you play here. Oh, and this parting. I don't mind having a straight left. That's fine. I couldn't get it to go in my normal way, but you know, I need to be a little bit more adaptable these days, don't we? But I have said in the past I have to have a full mono top, which I do still want to, ideally, but it's not putting me off in this wig. I love, actually I was playing around with it and I put it in a little ponytail. With the longer wigs I do love to do a bit of this, and this has got plenty of lovely movement to do that. You could cut a bit of the fringe in if you like to pull more out and just have a little bit of a sweepy style. Lots and lots of options to customise this to make it feel a little bit more like your own. So back to these lengths. So our fringe or bangs here is 15.5, so that's long in the front there. And the crown is 17.5. Let's take that, that is long, yeah. 17.5 and 13 from the nape. Yeah, so it's a fairly uniform length, that, you know, possibly a long layer in there with those lengths. So you could cut in some layers, yeah. Now, I did touch on the fact that I said this was a large cap. It still is a larger cap for me. It's listed as average. It is an average cap, but it runs a little bit big. Where I've pulled it in, I've got, if I were to count the wefts, maybe 3 wefts of bunching there. That doesn't bother me. Now, bunching doesn't bother me because you can't see it. Sometimes though, when a cap is too big, it doesn't bunch at the back, it does a cone at the top. And I'm not quite sure why. Some are different, it's just the way that they're made. So just watch out for that. It doesn't bother me if the bunching is here, but if the bunching finds its way up higher, you tend to end up with this kind of lifted crown, but you can train that down as well. But equally, wefted cap, you can take out some of those wefts and have that customised and stitched so that that bunching isn't there if that does bother you. I also find sometimes if a cap is too big at the nape, you might want to secure that with a little bit of tape as well so that it's not riding up and creating more bunching, but actually that's pulling in quite tight and I wouldn't need to do that with this. So I would tape down here, but that's just personal preference. It's actually sitting okay now that I've pulled that in. I would put my baby hairs in, I would pluck the part, and I will be doing a tutorial or a demo in terms of how you do that. I really don't recommend people do that themselves unless they are prepared to ruin their wig if they make a mistake, and lots of people do. I did in the beginning, you know, it just felt like I wanted things done quickly, but I am not recommending people do that themselves. And I may cutting a little bit more shape around the front, but yeah, I think she's really super, and I really love this colour. So that is Layla, René Paris, High Fashion Collection, Milk Tea. Ah, what do you think? Thank you.